Welcome back to me being cheap. So Michael and I bought a freeze dryer. I've done one other freeze drying video. This will be my second. And this one's going to be on eggs. And there's a lot of freeze drying of egg videos out there, but I'm going to tell you why I am freeze drying eggs. So if you have chickens, you know that they tend to lay more in the spring, summer, and fall when there's more daylight hours. And then that leaves you for needing eggs in the wintertime. Now, you can store eggs for several months in the fridge. Well, you can actually store your unwashed eggs on the countertop for a bit. But for longer term storage, you can put them in the fridge. But I want to show you, this is 8 dozen eggs. This takes up quite a bit of room, even if you have an extra refrigerator. So I have tried freezing eggs in the past, and I actually had to dip into the frozen eggs during COVID when that first started happening. There was an egg shortage and my chickens had not started laying yet. So I had to dip into the frozen eggs because the stores were actually out. And I was not really impressed with the quality of those. So freezing eggs is a no for me. Again, if you have enough room, you can store them in the fridge. They may not last that long though. I actually don't know how long an egg would last in the fridge, a farm fresh unwashed egg. Maybe somebody knows. If you know, put it down in the comments. I've actually never done that test. I have water glassed the eggs. That's where you put the eggs down in the lime. I did an experiment on that. The eggs did not come out rotten, but they were very, very runny. And I did not try eating it. I was a little bit scared. But I have tried that. So basically you are left with not very many options for long-term storage of eggs. So there's 3 ways in my mind that you could do this. I'm going to do just raw eggs this time. I'm going to mix them up, scramble them. I'm not going to add any milk or any salt, but we're just doing raw eggs that are mixed up. So scramble the yolk in with the white and pre-freeze them in the trays. And each one of the medium harvest right should hold about 2 dozen. So that's why I've got 8 here, because I've got 4 trays. The other ways that I think that you could do this, you could actually make scrambled eggs and cook them first, put them in the freeze dryer, and then you could do raw eggs, separating the whites and the yolks out. That way, if you wanted a whole egg, you could do that. It would take a little bit more work, but you could do that. So Michael and I have a lot of eggs to crack. So we're going to get started on that. We've got our bowl, and we're going to mix those up, and then we will put the trays in the freezer and fill the trays once they're in the freezer. We're not going to try and walk around with 4 trays of raw eggs. So we'll do that. Save your shells, wash them out, feed them back to your chickens. If you're not doing that already, you should do that. That will save you some money because you won't have to buy an oyster shell. So I will check back in with you after a while. Okay, it took Michael and I 11 minutes to crack 8 dozen. So do the math according to how many people you have helping. So if it's just you cracking 8 dozen eggs, it's probably going to take you 22 minutes. But Michael was helping, so it took 11. This is what 8 dozen eggs look like. This is what the shells look like. Michael's going to use the immersion blender to blend them up. Make a quick work of that. We have 4 trays in the freezer, and each tray held 2 dozen, so we didn't have any left. We put the trays in here and then ladled it from the bowl into the trays. I don't have any of those fancy tray stackers. I just use an ice cream box. All right, I'll check back in with you in a few. Welcome back. It is day 2. The eggs froze in the freezer overnight. Now I have to admit, I did give this pan a little shake to see if they were frozen, and they were not. You can see it's a little thin here. When I gave it a shake, it tipped. A portion of it ran into this pan down below. You can kind of see, but keeping it real, it did run down the freezer. And I had just defrosted and cleaned this freezer, so oh well, it is what it is. So I am going to put these in the freeze dryer, and I'm not going to film me actually carrying them over there because I need both hands to do it. So I'll check back in with you in just a few seconds. Okay, I have the 4 trays of eggs loaded into the freeze dryer. You can tell they are frozen. That's what they look like up close. All right, and I need to put the pad in. Now, I have one of those kilowatts that measures the amount of electricity used. I bought that for a previous video, and I'm going to use it on this because I have seen some of the other YouTubers do that. So I'm going to bend down here. You may just have to take my word for it. I don't know if it's going to show up or not. But there's the kilowatt. It's reading 0 right now again. I don't know if it's going to show up. But we will get a total amount of electricity used. And I do have a mouse trap down there. If you guys watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I had a little mouse problem. Ended up only catching 1. So 1 little mouse can do a lot of damage. Okay, I'm going to hit start. And it is pre-frozen. And then I need to close the drain valve. Then I hit continue. And it'll do its thing. You know, there's some people that do like customized settings and that sort of thing. I have not experimented with that. I just usually put the food in, shut the door, turn it on, and let it do its thing, and it's always come out fine. So while that's freezing, which it's already frozen, I wanted to let you know that I just use the standard pump, and I don't think it's that big of a deal to change the oil. I have a little setup here where I can put this filter and catch the used oil. This filter does a good job. So as you can see, this is black, and the stuff that has come out is clear and yellow. So the filter does work. Some people find it to be a little cumbersome. The only thing that I find to be a little bit hard is when you unscrew this. This filter that's in here is still a little drippy, and so you really need to set it on something that's okay to get greasy. You wouldn't want to set it directly down on the counter. But yeah, this filter has done a great job. I mean, I have no complaints about it. And I would say, okay, so my pump came with this and 2 other bottles, and I did buy some more gallon bottles off of Amazon because my vacuum chamber here also uses vacuum oil. So I figured if I bought it in bulk, I got a little bit of a discount. I have 2 machines that use vacuum pump oil. What they don't supply, and what I highly recommend, is one of these tiny little funnels. This one actually came with some spice jars that I ordered off of Amazon. So this is actually for putting spices inside of tiny little bottles. But it makes a really good funnel for, you know, putting the used oil back into this container, or over here, this little red cap comes off and you could drop the filter or the funnel right down in there and put the oil in the machine that way. So if anybody from Harvest Right is watching this, I recommend that maybe you include a little funnel in the kit. It's very handy. I have not seen one of these small funnels like this for sale at a regular store, so that might be a specialty item. But if you've seen them, put it in the comments below, and maybe that will be helpful to somebody else that might like to pick up one of these. Okay, we are going to let that do its thing, and I will check back in with you. It'll probably be sometime tomorrow or day after. These things typically run between 24 and 48 hours. If the trays are super full with... Okay, so here are the trays of eggs as I've taken them out. And like I said, these pans are very cold. If you get to it right away, before the freezer kicks back on, you can take them out and you can kind of touch and feel for the cold areas. I was at work, so I didn't have a chance to do that. But I can tell you, by flipping this over and feeling of it, it still feels a little wet. So I am going to, and this is very important before you shut your machine off, because you can't restart the cycle. You need to check it. Don't shut the machine off right away until you check it. It can sit there, run, make its little beep noise, but if you go ahead and shut it down, I have not figured out a way to restart the cycle. So I am going to put these back in. The unfortunate thing is I already started draining out the oil. I tend to change the oil after every batch. You don't have to do that, but I figure if this machine ran, 49 hours, probably the oil needs changed out. So I'm going to go ahead and finish changing the oil out. Go ahead and put these things back in for a couple hours, see if they dry out a little bit more. I'll check back in with you. Okay, so I had put the trays of eggs back into the machine. I actually broke up the egg a little bit so it could dry a little bit better. And so at the end of the cycle, this is what it's going to look like. And what you're going to do is select, since I need to dry this more, I'm going to say more dry time. And then I need to close the drain valve, which is back here on this hose. And then hit continue. And it starts again. You can see this is turning dark, so it's pulling a vacuum. And it defaults to an extra 2 hours, so I'll let it go for the 2 hours and then I'll check it again. I did add some more oil to the vacuum pump. Again, I want to show you why I'm adding oil. This is the oil that I took out. It's pretty gross. There's a lot of water and a lot of sediment in the bottom. And a lot of people don't like having to change the oil every time, but to me, I think it's better for the machine. So this is the little filter that comes with it. Here in a few hours, this oil will run down through here. The stuff in the bottom will be clear with the yellow color, and all the nastiness is here in the top, and you can just pour that out. Anyhow, I will check back in with you guys later. Thanks for watching. All right, we are now at 51 hours, 24 minutes. So we're gonna see if it's done now. So I'm going to open the drain valve to vent. And you can see there's a little condensation on this outside rubber ring, and it does drip a little bit. So I do keep a little bucket down here to catch the drips. All right, open this up, take out the little pillow. All right, so these pans are actually warm now because I got to it right when it said it was done. And I'm feeling around. I don't feel any cold spots, any wet spots. The first time they could have actually been done. It's just, it was so cold. I was feeling a little bit of moisture too. I am pretty sure these are dry. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we are good. So the next thing we're going to do, I need 2 hands to do this, but basically I'm going to take the trays out, put them over here on the bar, and then I'm going to go through the defrost cycle because I do have some meat I need to put in here now. But yeah, this was 51 hours and 24 minutes. And let me close this and I'll take a peek at the kilowatt over here. Left my flashlight upstairs. Oh, looks like 29.97, so almost 30. I'll have to do the math here in a bit and tell you how much electricity that is. So 29.97, so we'll just say 30. And I will check back in with you in a few for the next step. All right, the next step that I am doing, again, this is my first time to freeze dry eggs, so this is an experiment for me. I am loading the dried egg into the NutriBullet, and I'm going to grind it and into a powder, and then I'm going to transfer it into mason jars, and then I'm going to vacuum seal it. Then the very last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some upstairs and try and reconstitute some and then cook it and show you. Okay, I'll check back in with you in a few. Okay, so 8 dozen eggs minus what I dumped down the side of the freezer, which wasn't very much, equals 3 quarts. I've sealed these 2. Yes, these are used lids. I'm just going to watch these for a couple days since this is the first time I've done this. Make sure that they're good, and then I'm going to put them in some Mylar for long-term storage. This one I have not sealed, just put a ring on it. I'm going to take it upstairs and reconstitute it and try and make some scrambled eggs and see what they're like. So I'll check back in with you in just a few minutes. All right, if Michael's math is accurate, each jar has 32 eggs, and each jar also has 32 ounces. Now, I watched a couple videos on how to reconstitute. If I was a nerd, I would have weighed myself. I would have weighed my tray before and after to know how much water to add. I didn't do that. So one video says a 2 to 3 ratio, 2 parts egg to 3 parts water. Other videos say 1 to 1. So right now we are going to start off with 1 to 1, and actually it's going to be 2 to 2 because we're going to do 2 tablespoons of egg powder and then 2 tablespoons of water. And this is not product placement here, but was looking for something clear that you would be able to see the mixing. So I'm going to try and do this. Actually, I might have you hold the, well, you're not going to be able to see that now. There you go. Hold that. We're going to do, I'm making a mess, level tablespoon. There's 1. We'll call that 2. And then this is not hot but not cold water. There's 1. And there's 2. So that is supposed to equal 1 egg. I'll give this a stir. Kind of looks like raw egg. Still kind of chunky. All right, I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm going to heat up a pan and then I will join you guys in just a few minutes. Okay, I have my calculator out here while we're letting this egg set, and the base rate of my kilowatt hours here is 8.5 cents kilowatt hour. So let's say 0.085, and then the kilowatt had 30 on it. So that makes it $2.55 to run that thing for 50 hours. However, we do have a fuel adjustment charge, which is an extra charge that's added on to that base rate. That amount is different every month. For this past month and probably this current month, of course, we're getting out of that big cold Arctic blast that we have. The total amount of the electricity is 13 cents a kilowatt hour. And so let's say 13 cents times 30. And so that makes it $3.90. So for me out here in Kansas, this thing, base rate was $2.55. Probably more like $3.90 to run this thing 50 hours. I can't really say how much the eggs were because they were farm raised. And yes, there's some feed associated, but my chickens also eat bugs. We feed them scraps and everything else. So it's really hard to put a price on it. However, I can say if I did this with store-bought eggs, probably would not be this yellow. We get this nice yellow color from the yolks and the chickens eating all kinds of good stuff. Michael's given that a final stir, so I'm going to heat some oil in the pan and then we'll give you a demonstration. Check back with you in just a minute. All right, I have tested my pan. It is hot enough. Now we're going to put the egg in. Hey, it's like I'm making crepes. I suppose if I was making scrambled eggs, I would have added a little bit of milk. Yeah, or an omelet. Well, I think that's good enough. They say that egg continues to cook after you turn the fire off. So turn off the heat. Give it a little salt. Oh, I think that one's empty. A little salt. A little pepper. I'm going to let Michael be the taste tester. All right. Does it taste like egg?
It's excellent.
Boo. Let me try some of this. Tastes just like egg. Okay, so I think this is a win in my book. It sure beats those frozen eggs that I tried to do before. All right, thanks for watching.